Rumors are swirling about a new iteration of the Switch. What changes might we see? Let's hit the start button on that question. Hello, pondering pastries, and welcome to another episode of CyniBytes, your source for games industry discourse. I'm your host, Professor Cynic. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Nintendo might be releasing an updated version of the Nintendo Switch. This could come as early as summer of 2019. It sounds like something they might be updating is the screen, but other than that, we don't have any other details. My initial reaction to this news is, it kind of sucks as a current Switch owner, doesn't it? I mean, I've never been one to immediately run out and buy a new iteration of the same console. The Game Boy Advance comes to mind. It took me several years after the SP released before I finally picked up one of those. And good God, the 2/3DS has about 100 shoot-offs at this point. I still have my original 3DS XL. I guess I'm just of the mind that there isn't a need for me to buy the same console again, albeit with some upgrades. But it's a bummer being a gamer with this mindset, because when an update does come out, I know that there's a really slim chance that I'm going to go out and buy it, and consequently, I know I'm playing on a version of the console that's probably not the best experience. However, that being said, it's a business decision. I know that updating existing consoles is now an integral part of any company's strategy. If you don't innovate, you're going to get left behind. So I don't fault Nintendo. I'm glad they'll be improving their console. Just kind of blows knowing I probably won't be buying it. But let's talk about the features. The one thing the report mentions is that maybe we'll be getting screen improvements. Have to admit, it isn't the first thing I would have wanted improvements on. I think the screen is fine, but I guess that it isn't optimal when playing outside or something like that. I don't know. Clearly, it's not an issue for me playing in the lab all the time. I wouldn't complain if the screen was improved. I think that any update to the screen that'll provide a better experience for the user, it would be welcome. But because we don't have many other details, I'm going to give you some changes that I'd like to see on the Nintendo Switch. And if you'd like a little more background on my opinion of the current Switch, I made a review on it. I'll put a little thing somewhere up here that you can click. But here's the changes I'd like to see. First change. I'd like the new Switch to have a kickstand that isn't nearly impossible to open. I feel like I'm being punished for my impeccable grooming habits. I tend to keep my nails trimmed pretty short, and as a result, I have a hell of a time trying to get that kickstand out. Once it is out, it feels flimsy as hell, and it does a pretty shoddy job of actually keeping the Switch propped up. I think if I looked at the thing the wrong way, it would probably collapse on me. And how about Switches that don't crack or bend? I haven't personally had any issues with this yet, but I also haven't put as much wear and tear into my Switch because I didn't get mine right at launch. But I think if you pay $300 for a console, there's a reasonable expectation that it's not going to look like a piece of Laffy Taffy that was left on a f***ing dashboard in the Arizona summer heat. Unacceptable in my opinion. And the Joy-Cons. I swear that a team at Nintendo was tasked with making the most unnatural feeling controllers possible. I love playing the Switch with the Joy-Cons separated so I can keep my arms at my side and be as lazy as possible. But the Joy-Cons themselves are so uncomfortable to hold. Does Nintendo know that human hands have curvature to them? Because they made these things as if a toaster was going to be holding them. The charging port. Oh god, don't get me started on the charging port. I know why there needs to be one on the bottom. That's where the dock is going to connect to the USB-C port. But is there really no way to have one on the top? First, when you're playing in tablet mode, the cable ends up terminating right in your crotch. It'd be so much nicer to have a port available on the top. And second, you can't charge while it's in kickstand mode. Unless, of course, you pick up Nintendo's separate kickstand that allows for charging, enabling you to circumvent their shitty engineering. I know that adding 2 charging ports might not be the most practical solution, but can you at least include this charging stand with the new Switch? And lastly, the dock. The dock is so bad. You would think that if you're using a dock that comes with the console, it would accept the Switch without much of a fuss, right? I mean, you should be able to set the tablet into the dock and expect that the tablet is unscathed. It shouldn't look like it just came out of a bar fight. But that's apparently too much to ask, because the current dock will scratch the f*** out of your screen if you don't take the necessary precautions. If you want a pristine looking screen on your Switch, just know that a screen protector and dock sock are absolute musts. You gotta get them. so I'm hoping they'll create new docks that are a bit more accepting of their own product. So those are some of the changes I'd like to see on the new Switch. But since we're on the topic of Nintendo, I have some bonus Nintendo news for you that I'd like to introduce in my new segment, Get Out of the Stone Age, Nintendo. You're probably already aware that Nintendo took a complete idiotic approach to online voice chat, and that was to do it through an app on your phone. In the process, it created a web of cables that would rival any Family of Four's junk drawer. And with Nintendo's new paid online service, I, and many others, were hoping that Nintendo would move away from a phone app. And they didn't. I'd like to say I was left baffled by this move, but I'm not. It's Nintendo we're talking about here. Of course they'd pull something like this. But it was really interesting to hear their reasoning for the move. In a recent interview, Nintendo of America president Reggie Fils-Aimé explained why they were using a phone app for voice chat services. Reggie said, quote, "We believe the easiest way for you to connect and have a peer-to-peer experience with voice chat is with your mobile phone. It's always there. It's always with you." No, Reggie, do you know what would be the easiest way to implement voice chat? Let me do it through my fucking Switch. I get what he's trying to say with the phone, that everyone always has them on their person. But Reggie, if I'm playing the Switch online, guess what I also have on me? My fucking Switch! Just let me do it through the console for fuck's sake. And he says it's the easiest way. How so? How exactly is having to mess with two separate devices easier than plugging a headset into a headphone jack? I don't know. It's beyond comprehension. Oh, and somehow they top this statement to make Nintendo seem even more out of touch by saying, quote, "Nintendo's approach is to do things differently. We have a much different suite of experiences than our competitors offer, and we do that in a different way. This creates a sort of yin and yang for customers. They're excited about cloud saves and legacy content, but wish we might deliver voice chat in a different way, for example." No, Reggie, they fucking aren't asking that you do voice chat in a different way. No one is asking that. Ask any Nintendo fan, any of them, and I can almost guarantee that they'll tell you they wish voice chat was done through the console with a headset. And the comment about Nintendo doing things differently, Reggie, different is not better. You realize this, right? Doing voice chat in an incredibly archaic, inconvenient way is not better just because it's different. Do you know what's a good kind of different? Having a home console that's also a handheld device. That's a good kind of different. This is not. What if Chevy were to come out and say, you know what? For years, our competitors have been using round wheels, but here at Chevy, we like to do things differently. So we're announcing for all of our 2019 lineup of vehicles, they will include our patent-pending Chevrolet octagonal wheels. We know it doesn't make any fucking sense, but it's different, so it's better. Pastries, you've been given the sticky, but let's not end the conversation here. What changes do you think Nintendo should make with the new Switch? Do you agree with my list? And what do you think about Nintendo's solution to voice chat? Is there that Nintendo fan out there that likes this idea of a phone app over the traditional headset with a console? Either way, let's hit the start button on those conversations in the comments below. If you'd like to see more gaming content, you can hit the subscribe button and bell icon, but who knows if that's going to work. So you can always follow me on Twitter for updates. That's at Professor_Cynic. And you can also visit my website, www.ProfessorCynic.com, which contains some content you won't find on YouTube. And Pondering Pastries, as always, I remind you to stay cynical.